So, E3 2019, day one, or actually day one's technically Tuesday, so you could say this is day -2, but it's the first day of E3 press conferences. I got out of the Microsoft Theater, headed over to Bethesda, left a little bit early so I could get down to Devolver Digital for their press conference and 10th birthday bash. The thing that today highlighted for me is how much this industry, the gaming industry, is in a state of flux. And nothing shone a brighter light on that. Those separate poles pulling apart the game industry in different directions than the Xbox press conference at E3. So first things first, I can't deny that it was a very good show. Halo Infinite finished strong, and new announcements from Bandai Namco, like the new RPG from Game of Thrones creator George R.R. Martin, and Dark Souls and Bloodborne creator Hidetaka Miyazaki. That's called Elden Ring, and it looks super exciting. There was a new game in the Tales franchise, and it looked like an upgrade from Berseria in both budget and ambition. I thought Gears 5 actually had a few rough moments, including a trailer which felt more like a Billie Eilish music video than a game trailer. I thought the multiple trailers with the different tones kind of clashed, whether it's this new artsier tone they're going for, trying to bring it back to classic edgy Gears. They just didn't quite feel like they meshed or were even a part of the same game sometimes. And you know, the theater was groaning when they showed off the Gears Funko Pop mobile game. Why they thought that would be a good idea is completely beyond me. But overall, it was a very strong showing for Microsoft. But the really interesting thing was when they talked about their two new technologies that they see as pioneering the future of gaming. The first one was Scarlett, which is the next physical Xbox console. They gave us a few details, mostly stuff that we already knew about. It's running on Zen 2 and Navi, the new graphics and CPU architectures from AMD. It has an SSD, and Microsoft claims that it's the biggest generational leap ever, although how you measure that, I'm not sure. I'm sure it's a big leap if you measure it against Xbox One, but if it's Xbox One X, I'm sure it's not the largest ever. The second thing was Project xCloud. That's Microsoft's new game streaming service, which will compete with Google Stadia. I think these two technologies really highlight the sort of tension underpinning the games industry in this weird transition time we're in. Scarlett is all about powerful hardware, end-user control, and customizability. The ability to natively run games the way you want them, with more control over resolution, support for higher frame rates, everything that comes with that native hardware experience. xCloud is almost the opposite of that, and it feels like the natural conclusion of Microsoft's Play Anywhere initiative. It's about having all of your games on any device at any time, cross-play, cross-save, cross-device, picking up one on your phone and then playing it on your laptop, switching over to a handheld seamlessly, and I'm sure they'd love to have it on Nintendo Switch. It's about giving up that control that native hardware gives you for the convenience of streaming. Now, Microsoft insists that these two things, these two different concepts can coexist, but historically that hasn't been true. I mean, look at the music industry. I remember hearing for years that streaming music wouldn't replace physical media. And with films, I remember people who insisted that streaming wouldn't kill DVDs or Blu-ray. But ultimately, people picked the convenience of Netflix over the quality of Blu-ray. They were willing to compromise the experience for the convenience. And now, look at the Billboard Top Albums chart. There are all of these albums going #1 with next to no physical sales. It's all streaming. I'm not saying the same thing will definitely happen to the gaming industry. The technology just isn't there yet. But the industry might find at a certain point that it has to choose between these two competing visions. And I do actually think they're competing, not complementary in the way Microsoft paints it. Bethesda was next, and let's get this out of the way. I thought their conference was frankly bizarre and uneven. It jumped so wildly from great moments like Shinji Mikami and Tango's new game, Ghostwire Tokyo, to parts that I thought were, frankly, pretty dreadful. It wasn't a good decision to open with Fallout 76 and Elder Scrolls Blades, two games that have launched some of the worst reviews in Bethesda's history. And while they tried to address that controversy and acknowledge the terrible response of, for instance, Fallout 76, it didn't really feel like much more than Todd Howard saying, well, we had a rough launch, but the game's really great now, and trust us again that this future content is going to be great, rather than, we launched a fundamentally broken, buggy game, and we want to regain your trust and fix things. And the show itself just dragged. There were moments of laughter from the audience around me, and not because someone said something funny. It was laughter out of disbelief. Is this really happening? And I think it contrasts perfectly with Devolver Digital's press conference. And I won't go into great detail because what can you really say? They always find a way to skewer the worst parts of the games industry, the self-aggrandizement, the pomposity, the cringe-worthy corporate socializing. And while they seem to be taking primary aim at the new method of conference delivery through pre-recorded videos like Nintendo Direct or PlayStation State of Play, the real target was the whole industry itself. The Mobius strip of cannibalized, refined, replayed, refiltered ideas embodied by their games launcher designed only to rip off their own games. So it's been an interesting E3 so far. The industry's transitioning from one generation to the next, from one set of hardware architectures to the next, from one node process to the next, from one model of physical games played on native hardware to another, that much feared all digital, all streaming future. It's impossible to know what's coming next, but one thing's for sure. We'll be there to talk about it, to give you the latest news and the most interesting perspectives. For more, follow Spiel Times on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and all of the rest of our social media accounts. You can find those links down in the description. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is still new and finding its footing. If you enjoyed this video, ring the notification bell down in the description to get notified every time we make a new video.